Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to explore.
Awesome. So today we're looking at something, um, well, frankly, it's kind of provocative.
Yeah, sounds intriguing. Lay it on us.
Okay, so it's an excerpt, right? And the title is Men Only Correct the Women They Love, A Harsh Truth. It's from a channel called X Phoenix.
Whoa, that's a pretty strong statement right off the bat.
Right, like immediately makes you think, is there any truth to that? Is there a connection between like a man correcting a woman's behavior and, real love?
Yeah, I mean, correction in the context of love
I got it.
definitely raises some eyebrows.
Exactly. So that's what we're going to try to unpack today. See what the source has to say and, get your take on it too.
Sounds like a fascinating, if potentially tricky, discussion.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So right away, one thing that struck me is how the source is kind of vague on what exactly this correction even means.
Yeah, how do they define that?
Well, they mention things like a woman's clothes, her lifestyle choices, that kind of stuff, but they don't really give specific examples, which makes me wonder, like, how much room for interpretation are we talking about here?
That's a really important point, because without clear definitions, correction can very easily slip into controlling behavior.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where things get kind of murky, right? Because the source tries to present this correction as coming from a place of love. Like the man wants the best for the woman, wants her to be her best self, so he corrects her.
Okay, but is that really love, though? Or is it something else masquerading as love?
Right. Like, is it possible to disentangle those two things?
It's definitely something to unpack.
Yeah,
Because love, in its truest form, should be about supporting and accepting your partner for who they are, not trying to mold them into some idealized version you have in your head.
totally. And it gets even more complicated when the source starts using terms like discipline and protection. Like, there's this whole idea that if a man truly loves a woman, he won't let her ruin herself.
Hmm. Yeah, that's where alarm bells start ringing for me.
Right. Because it's one thing to, like, offer support and guidance to your partner, but to try and control their choices under the guise of love, that seems like crossing a major line.
Absolutely. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect and autonomy, not one person dictating the other's actions.
So how do we, I guess, distinguish between those two things? Like between healthy support and, straight up control?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's not always easy to answer, but one key difference is the element of choice. In a healthy relationship, both partners feel free to make their own decisions without fear of judgment or reprisal. There's no coercion or manipulation involved.
That makes sense. And it reminds me of something you mentioned before about those, what were they called? The Four Horsemen.
Yes.
Yeah.
John Gottman, the relationship researcher, talks about these four communication patterns that are super destructive in relationships: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling.
And those are all about like control and lack of respect.
Right. Exactly. They create this toxic dynamic where one partner feels constantly attacked or belittled, while the other feels justified in their attempts to control the situation.
So you're thinking this whole correction thing, as the source puts it, could be a sign of those harmful patterns.
It's definitely possible,
Yeah.
especially when you consider the very gendered assumptions baked into this whole concept.
Oh, yeah. Like the idea that men are the correctors and women are the ones who need correcting.
Exactly. It plays right into those traditional and honestly outdated views of men as the leaders and women as needing guidance. Like women can't think for themselves or something.
Right. It's like this weird throwback to, I don't know, the 1950s or something.
Totally. And it gets even more concerning when the source claims that a woman who rejects this correction isn't worth a man's time.
Yeah. What's up with that?
Well, to me, that's a dangerous and incredibly damaging statement because it basically reinforces this idea that a woman's worth hinges on her obedience and willingness to conform to a man's idea of who she should be.
Oh, wow. That's really messed up when you put it like that.
It is. And it feeds into this whole good girl trope, which rewards compliance and punishes independence in women. And unfortunately, this isn't just some abstract concept. It plays out in society in very real ways.
Yeah. You see it all the time, don't you?
Absolutely. Like the double standards women face for expressing anger or assertiveness, traits that are often celebrated in men.
Right. Like a woman is bossy, but a man is assertive.
Exactly. And this ties back to the whole idea of correction. It's about maintaining control and keeping women in their place.
Okay. But then the source throws another curveball. They claim that women are actually drawn to bad boys who don't correct them, mistaking silence for love. What do you make of that?
Honestly, I think that's a gross oversimplification of the complexities of human attraction.
Yeah. How so?
Well, there are so many reasons why someone might be drawn to a partner who doesn't challenge them, and to label it as some universal female preference is just inaccurate. It ignores the nuances of individual choices and life experiences.
Fair enough. So I do want to play devil's advocate for a moment, though. The source does mention accountability in relationships. Yeah. And that's, generally considered a good thing, right?
Absolutely. Accountability is crucial in any healthy relationship.
So how do we reconcile that with this whole correction thing?
Well, I think the key is to distinguish between holding someone accountable in a respectful way and correcting them as if they lack agency or intelligence.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice?
For instance, if your partner is consistently breaking promises or engaging in behaviors that are harmful to themselves or the relationship, it's perfectly valid to address those issues, but it needs to be done through open, honest communication, not a top-down correction.
So it's more about collaboration than like one person having all the answers.
Exactly. It's about working together to find solutions that work for both partners.
So what I'm hearing is that communication is key. Like being able to express your needs and boundaries clearly and respectfully.
100%. Rather than trying to correct your partner, focus on fostering open dialogue. Express your concerns, listen to their perspective, and try to find common ground.
Okay, so instead of correcting, it's more about understanding and working together.
Exactly. Remember, a healthy relationship is a partnership, not a dictatorship.
That's such a great way to put it. So we've definitely waded through some murky waters today, huh?
We've done some deep diving for sure.
Big time. But hopefully it's given everyone something to think about.
Yeah.
Like, how do you define healthy accountability and support in your relationships? What are those non-negotiables, and how can you communicate them effectively? And just as important, how can you ensure your partner feels heard and respected, even when you have different perspectives?
Those are the real questions, aren't they?
They are. And, it's not like there's a one-size-fits-all answer. It's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. It's all about ongoing growth and open communication.
Couldn't said it better myself. Thanks for diving in with me today.
Always a pleasure.
We'll catch you all on the